Yo, what's up, guys? It's Smalls, back with Thoughts from the Bench, back with the Vault, episode 3, brought to you by Thoughts from the Bench, weekly show that takes a look back at some of the best and worst sports jerseys of all time. I'm joined, as always, by the funniest co-host on the internet, Mr. Benny Buckets. How are you doing, sir?
I'm great, Smalls. How are you, man?
Dude, not too bad, not too bad. Ben, do you have anything to drink? I don't mean to make this a point every week, but future sponsorship.
I do.
So.
I do. I am drinking some Irish coffee today. I have a little bit of JMO mixed in with some Veranda blend from Starbucks. So
Nice.
That's what I'm sipping on this evening. What about you, Smalls?
So, I know you're, not like an IPA guy, but whatever. I'm going with the Voodoo Ranger American Haze today. I don't know if you've ever had this one. This is actually not very hoppy or anything. It honestly, just tastes like a good fucking beer. So
No, I have actually. I don't mind that.
yeah, no, I think that one is actually one of my probably top 3 beer. I can just take those down. It tastes like water to me at this point. But I only do that every week, just in case we have a sponsor out there that might want to.
Hey, toss it out, man.
Like I'm just throwing it out there. I feel like we could use a sponsor, but so anyway, the Vault. Just a quick rundown of what the show is. Just a reminder. Basically, this is just an opportunity for me and Ben to flex our love of sports jerseys. We've loved them for years. I obsess over it. I'm sure Ben does as well. But essentially, it's just a show about jerseys. So we're going to come in each week with 3 different jerseys to talk about each that fit whatever category or theme or whatever you want to call it, fit whatever category we have that week. And this week, we have an interesting one. This one is I think it's a lot different from the ones that we've done so far, just because it's not specific. It's an interesting one. So I'm calling this one the I Remember Where I Was jersey category. So basically, this is just games that either had crazy endings or basically any game that you remember exactly where you were when you watched it, and it can either have a sentimental, place in your heart. It can be a bad memory. It really does not matter. I feel like both of us kind of went on the good side of things, which is fine. But there are tons of ways to go with this, and there are no wrong answers here, which is why I think it's kind of interesting. But I'm excited for this one. I feel like there's a lot to talk about here.
And this is one that I feel like a lot of people can do on their own because it's all biased, catering to what holds personal significance for you. And so I think with this also, the people, you're going to get to learn a little bit about me and Smalls about what sports moments really stuck with us. And I'm super excited for this week's topic. So we'll be, throwing back drinks or throwing back sports memories.
Yes, sir. And also, just another note too. We are not saying that these are the best sports jerseys ever.
Not at all.
This one is just purely like the jerseys. What we're gonna use this episode for is the jerseys are kind of a bridge between me and Ben to talk about something crazy that happened in the world of sports. So the jerseys, I think some of mine are kind of cool. I know your first one is awesome. I think it's like it's a keeper for sure. Like it's one that sticks in everyone's memory, I think. But we're not saying that these are the best of all time. It's an avenue for us to talk about memories and get a little nostalgic with it. So,
absolutely.
So, Ben, we're gonna start with your first one. Go ahead, 'cause this is awesome.
So, for anyone who is an American and has been alive for a relative amount of time, this should matter to you. There are a lot of people that I know that aren't even hockey fans that were tuning in and watching this happen. This is from 2014 in the Olympics that were in Sochi when we faced Russia, and it came down to a shootout. If anyone remembers correctly, TJ Oshie had the dagger to put us over the top in the Olympics in a bout that we were favored to lose. And this was probably the most monumental hockey moment in American history since Do You Believe in Miracles? This was just, I mean, this was our generation's version of that, and we got to see us overcome all odds. And the fact that, I mean, when you think about it in sports, is there a more exciting set of words than shootout? I mean, like when it comes down to a shootout, whether that be in hockey or in soccer, but I feel like hockey's got this elevated level. There's more hype to it, and especially it being in like it's always in a closed arena. It's more intimate. It's more intense of a moment. And I mean, I've been lucky enough. I've got to see that at a few Penguins games. I've been able to see 2 shootouts in that time, and that is a fraction of just the intensity that it is held at the Olympics. And I mean, you figure these people, they're not playing for an NHL team. They're playing to represent the United States of America. And we beat a team that was supposed to kick our ass. It comes down to the wire. And TJ Oshie has the most memorable goal, in probably the most relevant history in the last 30, 40 years. So realistically, putting the team on his back and creating such a memorable moment to stick in our heads, I mean, I will never forget this. I remember this was while, and this is going to show our age a little bit, this was while we were still in high school. And I remember going back after school and being able to catch the game and putting it on. And I remember sitting in my living room. Neither of my parents were home. And I was just sitting there by myself. And I remember like a little kid, man, like, sitting cross-legged, sitting in front of the TV, just with my eyes stapled to the television, thinking like, I know that I'm being joined by millions across the country, just glued to their TV, seeing if we can really pull this off. And that goal was the most excited I've ever been by myself about a sports moment, probably ever. And it was one of those things that really tied us in to feeling proud. Granted, it is a sport, but knowing like, hey, we did it. America did it. We pulled it off. And I'll never forget that.
Yeah, no, and there's something. Well, I also want to clarify too. He didn't just score. If you were watching this, he didn't just score the winning goal. After the first 3 shooters, they sent him out 5 more times, and he converted on 4 of those. So like, Oshie, and you look at TJ Oshie, he's just a fucking American hockey player. He's just a fucking hockey player, and I hate him because he's on the Caps now. But like, God damn, back then, dude. I mean, he was Captain America for at least a year. Like, that's just what he was known for. Was this?
And he was awesome. He was on the St. Louis Blues at the time, so I didn't hate him that much.
Yeah,
he just made a poor contract decision after the fact. But no, I mean, I think he was kind of that guy, and I know like a lot of people have referred to, like I know a lot of people would say that about Landon Donovan, but Landon Donovan never brought us a World Cup, whereas TJ Oshie won us the Olympics. So he really, like, he was America, at least for that short period of time. And I think that definitely also helped him in his pro career moving forward, because a lot of people didn't really know who he was. And then after he became the hero of the Olympics, he became a household name for anyone who pays attention to hockey. So I just think that, like you said, I couldn't have put it any better myself. He was Captain America.
Yeah. And it was also, it's weird too, because like, you think Miracle on Ice, you think like, I mean, that was U.S. Soviets, height of the Cold War. Like, there was so much on this game. Now, politically, probably at the time there wasn't as much riding on this game, but it was facing the Russians in the the Russian Olympics against, I mean, that Russian team was stacked. When I say stacked, I mean they were fucking stacked.
Animals. And you got to figure how much extra of a chip on their shoulder do they have for playing in Russia? You know what I mean? Like, it's like them having home ice advantage was nuts. I was expecting Putin to come riding out on the ice on a horse shirtless or some shit. It was like intense. It was genuinely intimidating. And we're just fans, let alone being the guys who are actually skating on the ice with these guys, because not only was it in their country, and not only are they an intimidating people by nature, we were playing for a medal in their country where they had the entire support of theirs right there in person all around them. And I think it was weird for the US being the enemy, and we went in and we got it done. And Oshie really put the team on his back, because, like you said, one thing that a lot of people forget is he didn't just do it once. He did it multiple times, and he became the guy. So I think it was things like that that just make me realize the gravity of it all. Like he had, no pun intended, the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he succeeded.
Yep. Well, and I don't remember, was it this I can't remember if it was this Olympics that we went on to. I think it was this one. We went on to lose to Canada in the gold medal game. I think because this was like earlier on. It was maybe a quarterfinals or something, but like it was probably the biggest game outside of the gold medal match. You know, and I mean, to have it be Russia versus the U.S. already is like, that magnifies it a ton. You know, add in the fact that it's just basically NHL All-Star team versus NHL All-Star team, and like, just what a legendary game. It gives you goosebumps, and like I wanted to run through a brick wall. Like it was such a fucking cool game to watch.
And like I said, I think, one thing that helps a lot of people understand the importance of it is when you're able to get people who really don't give a shit about the sport interested. Is that means it's a monumental moment, because it's not like, it's only hockey fans talking about this. There were people that, this was a dinner conversation at every household in America, just because it was, hey, even if it was short, hey, did you see this? Because it was something so awesome and so incredible and so doubted to even come out the way that it did, that, it got everyone talking. This wasn't just hockey talk. This was American talk. And I think that just shows the level of importance of this moment.
Yep, it was. And the jerseys are these sweaters are cool too. Like,
they are cool, because I like the shield. You know what I mean? In that look of it, and I like the darker design. I like the deep blue, and having that, a deep like navy blue, and the style was sleek. It was sharp. We looked good. We played good. We felt good. It was 2014 was a good year to be an American hockey player.
Yes, sir. That's a great one. I think that one. Me and Ben were, so we always exchange picks before the show just to make sure that we don't come in with the same one. And this was in my top 3 as well, and it was a hard category to pick for, and like I finally narrowed it down. I think I had like 20 some names or jerseys written down, and I was able to narrow it down to 3. And this bastard comes in and steals the most American pick of all time, steals my thunder. But this is an awesome pick. So great way to start us out. So if you're a sports fan in general, you know what this next jersey is. The 2015 Joey Bats Jose Bautista Blue Jays home jersey, and this is stamped in my mind forever because of that moment right there. The fucking bat flip where he mushroom stamped the entire MLB right on the spot. Dude, what a fucking boss move. And I feel like everyone, for all of, the baseball heads out there, they kept saying, oh, that's a disgrace to the game. You shouldn't flip your bat. That's just, dude, shut the fuck up. Have some fun. This guy had swagger all over the place, just dripping off of him. And it was the ALDS in the do or die game. This was game 5, 2-2, or I think it was 3-2 when he hit it. It was 2-2 going into the 7th. 3-2 when he hit this home run. 3-run homer. Like, how do you tell this guy not to flip his bat?
He came up big, man. And that's the thing is, like, Jose Batista, especially in this era, really blossomed into one hell of a baseball player, which is funny because for those of you that don't know, he started off as a Pittsburgh Pirate, and then he, blew chunks for us, ends up going and having a hell of a career when he went to play in Toronto.
Story of our lives, yeah.
And I mean, they call him Joey Bats for a reason. He started just smacking the shit out of balls. Every time he stepped up to the plate, you thought his dad was chucking him pitches at the home run derby. I mean, he was an animal, especially in 2015. If you look at his stats that year, I mean, he was just raking and raking and raking and sending them out of the park, and especially to come up as big as you could. This is why, he was immortalized in the world of baseball for the bat flip. People have done bat flips before. It was the importance of the game and what happened then that people were like, oh shit, Jose Batista can play some baseball. And I'm pretty sure this was before he got his ass kicked by Rougned Odor when he got punched in the fucking face for sliding into him. So this was still in like a big happy moment of his career. So before he got his ass kicked, he was raking balls in the playoffs. And man, this is one that, typically most baseball guys are going to recognize this, but if you were watching SportsCenter in 2015, you saw this about every 20 minutes.
Yeah, and I pulled up his stats just to make sure that everyone can see this. Bautista finished the 2015 regular season with a .250 batting average, 40 home runs, and 114 RBIs. That's fucking crazy, dude.
That's a pretty damn good year, especially for somebody playing in Toronto.
Yeah, well, and I'm not going to talk shit on Toronto because, I mean, so we've already talked about the Toronto Raptors. I think there's something cool about Toronto sports outside of the Maple Leafs. Those guys can go suck a big one.
Yeah.
But how do you make Phil Kessel the villain? That's the only beef I have with that town.
They're a bunch of fucks. They ran him out of town, and I'm so happy that he came to Pittsburgh and he won back-to-back cups with us, and they didn't win jack shit.
Yeah.
So Phil Kessel, we love you. You are also an American hero, and who was on that 2014 Olympic team as well that we referenced earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So Phil Kessel, if for whatever reason this crosses your timeline, we fucking love you, bud. Good luck there down in Phoenix.
Hey, if Kessel wants to come on this is a big ask considering we're on episode 3 on a local Pittsburgh sports blog. But hey, man, if you want to come on the show, like I don't think me or Ben would. I think that might be the white whale.
Listen, Phil, we're just guys being dudes, and you seem like a guy just being a dude. You're out there skating around, but you're just a typical American guy. Come have a drink with us and talk about different jerseys you've worn. We'll do a Phil Kessel team show, and we'll cater it to you. Philly, we love you. Good luck down there.
Yes, sir. But don't want to go too far off on a tangent there. Bringing it back, steering it back. Nah, that's what I love about the show. We can, we're flexible. We can talk about Phil Kessel, but then bring it right back to the Blue Jays. But what are you doing? What's going
not
on?
that flexible.
Oh. I was like, is he all right up there? Jeez, there's like back go out or something. But, all right, no, but like the Blue Jay, I don't know what it is about playing a professional sport in Toronto, especially in mostly American leagues. There's something cool about just like being the team up north, and like almost like the entire country of Canada is just like they're rooting for you no matter what. And I mean, whether it's Joe Carter in the '93 World Series, the Raptors with Vince Carter, or Kawhi. I mean, there's something weirdly cool about playing professional sports in Toronto, and this just embodied it. Like the fucking swagger of just it was the coldest look I've ever seen. It up in the top right picture. That is the coldest look you will ever see on a professional athlete's face. Is just look what the fuck I just did. Yeah, I'm gonna flip my bat.
For anybody who's familiar with Coach Kent Murphy, or any of those videos. Basically, they were spoof, funny videos of this guy coaching baseball, and it was just him and his buddy throwing pitches to each other, and they were, hitting dingers. And it was like whenever Kent Murphy smacks that ball and goes, "Gone forever," but like in a pro baseball game. He knew it, no doubt about it. He's like, "Yeah, fuck you, check that shit out. How you like them apples?" Chucks a bat. I mean, it was such a signature thing. I mean, people were talking about Jose Batista, who didn't even know who the hell he was prior to, and then he got attention moving forward with that because that was such an iconic moment in baseball history.
Yep. In the like, I feel like there are two sets of playoffs where like everything is magnified. I love the NFL playoffs, man, and I feel like the NBA playoffs. Even me, a casual fan, I'll tune into the playoffs for the NBA. But baseball and hockey are the two playoffs in professional sports in the U.S. that there's just so much more attention and something so much cooler about that in the playoffs that like there's so much more weight to everything they do. They change how they pitch. They change how they manage the game, and
it's a new season.
Yeah,
it is. It's almost a completely new season.
Yeah. This was just I remember I was in college when this happened, and luckily I wasn't too bitter about the Bucks getting bounced by Jake Arrieta and the Cubs. I wasn't, so I was able to tune in for a few more games that year, and I was like kind of rooting for Joey Bats just because he used to be a Pirate. It hurts. Yeah. It's bittersweet, but like it's so cool. Like, what a fucking picture! Just like what a fucking still frame of that guy.
Oh, if I'm Jose Batista, I have that shit blasted in my living room. Like, I mean, just because realistically, and anybody who's followed his career, that was the peak. We'll be quite honest, but that is something that, like I said, everybody was talking about that in the sports world at the time. And let's face a simple fact. Very few people, even pure baseball fans, are paying attention to every game in the regular season because there's 9,463,000 of them. But in the playoffs, everybody's paying attention. Everybody wants to see who advances to the World Series. That's where the world actually pays attention. You're not paying attention all goddamn season long because you're taking years off your life watching each fucking game. But you watching in the playoffs, this is where everything has built to that point, and those 162 games per year lead to something, and that's where all the momentum is, all the dense pressure is, and he just fucking cracked that dense pressure right into fucking, where'd that pitch go? I think like left center, and just fucking crushed it there. And it was literally that, no doubt about it. He could have done that shit with his eyes closed. He knew that thing was going out the park.
Yep. Oh, just. If I could be one person in the year 2015, it'd be this guy. It's just so goddamn, like, you can't help but be just a little jealous of this guy in this moment. What a fucking moment. And again, bringing it just back to the jerseys real quick. The Toronto Blue Jay jerseys have always been kind of cool, and they haven't changed that much. That's the thing. They've always been pretty simple, and they've kept the font. They had like a stretch where they kind of changed it, but this was one of the years where they kind of went back to what worked, and it's sleek. It works. It's simple.
I do, and I'm a little. I like the more animated look, like whenever they went with the black jerseys that said Jays across it with the actual J head, and like when Roy Halladay played there, RIP. But I think that this look is what fits the Blue Jays best and fits the city of Toronto. I do. I really think it's a clean look. I think that they look good. And that's actually a jersey like I wouldn't mind sporting around. And that's hard for me to say with a lot of baseball jerseys, but that's a clean look.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on. Your second pick. Ooh, man, let's go. Let's go.
All Pittsburgh homers. You've got to just, if you were a Pittsburgh sports fan and you weren't in love with the city beforehand, this is where you fell.
Goosebumps.
This is where you fell in love with the city. I will never forget this. In fact, this one actually sticks with me more than any other sports memory I have. This is 2013. We're in the wild card, right? And we're playing the Reds, who is a team that we see very often every single year. We've got a bit of rivalry with them. People who pay attention to Pirates baseball have seen both our benches clear several times. This was I'm literally, I swear to God, I am not making this shit up on my mother, dude. I have goosebumps even thinking about it right now. This is, and it's crazy for me to even think that I'm talking about a baseball memory that gives me goosebumps, but this is it, man. The entire stadium, all of PNC Park, is chanting Johnny Cueto's name. Cueto, Cueto, trying to rattle him. And usually, you think as professionals, it's just noise. Cueto drops the fucking ball. And not only does the city of Pittsburgh shake that man to his bones so purely that he drops the ball, during the same at-bat, he pitches to Russell Martin, who rakes that motherfucker out of the park. Okay, inside the park, out of the field of play, and hits a home run. And I swear to God, the streets were shaking. I remember I was at a restaurant in Pittsburgh when this was happening with a couple friends. I was in high school at the time. I think I was a junior, I was a junior in high school at the time. I mean, the floors fucking shaking because PNC Park was like where lightning struck, and that effect just reverberated throughout the entire city, because not only was it loud and was it distracting for pro athletes in that moment when they were chanting his name, when Russell Martin cranked that home run, it genuinely, I swear to God, we had to register on the Richter scale. I remember watching that. And I'm in like a bar in a pub full of people. It was that type of moment where people, because especially, you got to remember, Pittsburgh hasn't done jack shit since 1979. That's the last time we won a World Series. Pirates fans are like the Cleveland Browns fans of baseball. We've been waiting so goddamn long to be relevant again. And this was our first chance of coming back. This is when McCutchen won MVP that year of the NL. We were just riding such a high. This was that type of moment where people are coming up to you and they're hugging you, they're high-fiving you, they're buying you a drink because we're just so goddamn happy that the Pirates are doing something exciting. And I will never forget this. We had some really good studs that year. Russell Martin was a high-dollar free agent that we were able to bring onto the team somehow, along with a few guys that we had at the time. We had a really well-rounded team. It's a shame that we couldn't do much else after this wild card game because I think we lost to the Giants in the following round.
Cardinals.
Or the Cardinals.
Well, it was the best team in baseball that year. The Pirates are cursed. I will go to my grave thinking that. Yeah, I'll speak on it a little bit, but go ahead.
Well, we have a poison curse, and his name's fucking Bob Nutting, and that motherfucker. Okay, I wrote an article about that. I think last year that's called A Yinzer's Profane Letter to Bob Nutting, but I am a Yinzer who fucking hates that man because this city could have been successful multiple times, but time and time again he shoves money in his pocket and starts new newspaper chains or whatever and does not give a fuck about the players that we have. He doesn't give a shit about the people in the city. He doesn't give a shit about maintaining PNC Park. It's just more money in the pocket. But I'm not going to go off on that tangent. This was a great moment. And in relative history, in my lifetime, this was the most proud I ever was as a Pirates fan, was seeing that our fan base rattled someone that much, and because Johnny Cueto was not a slouch pitcher. He was a really good pitcher. And the fact that we were able to make that happen and then our team capitalize on that and put this game in the bag is something I will never forget for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and it was, like you said, it was cool to like baseball again in Pittsburgh. So, like a little background too. My dad is, when I say a diehard Pirates fan, I don't care what year it is. I don't care what day of the fucking week it is. I don't care what time of the day it is. If there's a Pirates game on, preseason, postseason, regular season, in the dog days of summer, that guy will have the Pirates on TV. He is as much of a diehard as I have ever seen. He curses at the team. He rejoices at every little thing possible. Like, I've never seen a more ride or die fan ever. There's no comparison. And what brought me so much happiness that year was just watching him saying, "Holy shit, this is actually fucking happening." Like that, it's about time that something good happens to this franchise.
Yeah.
And like it almost brought tears to my eyes. It sucks because Ben, I think this was before you joined the soccer team. I remember I had a fucking game this night. Which is why I couldn't put this on my list because I remember where I was when it happened, but I had to watch the fucking highlights. And the fact that it gives me goosebumps just watching it, even though I didn't watch it live. But like, there was something cool about the entire stadium wearing black. There was something cool about fucking I forget who pitched. I forget if it was Burnett or Cole, but
Yeah, it was Burnett.
okay, yeah, sit the fuck down. Like, what, dude? What a fucking team.
I was on the team, and for anybody who knew me as an athlete, I how do I put this? Didn't care. So we'll leave last names out of it. To Sean and Bob, I apologize, but I had more important things going on. I actually missed this game because I said I wasn't feeling well, and I was actually out watching this game because I figured, when the hell are the Pirates going to make the playoffs? I was not performing so well that year, so I said, why the fuck do I need to show up to a game? I'm going to go watch something that's going to do more for my life than me show up and sit on a bench. So I went and watched this game. But this is something, man, I think, like you said, it was just because for so long it was like, you know, anybody that I talked to, and especially through my time of meeting other people and, you know, being in the military, I've met people from all over. So I've met people from every fan base. Always love to give me shit. Oh, so you're a Pirates fan. You know, like it's fun to dog on. It was like we were able to be proud to be Pirates fans again. And I know that, you know, we're Pittsburgh faithfuls, and that's never going to change, but we had a reason to be proud. And that's the last time I can truly remember like feeling excited about baseball, and that's something I will never lose is as long as I live as a sports fan. Until we surpass a moment like that, or the Pirates win a World Series, there will never be a more memorable Pirates moment than that.
And I feel like the Steelers, for the most part, that's like, I would say the Steelers are the pride of Pittsburgh, just edging out the Pens, just barely. The Pens I love the Pens. I'm a huge Pens fan. Even bigger Steelers fan. But there was something different about having the entire... Pittsburgh is a great sports town. I'm not just saying that because I'm from there. Everyone roots for the home team. Like, it's because all the teams wear the same colors. There's just a community feel about it.
Black and gold.
Yeah.
And I know that that's cliche, but it's true. Everybody in that city bleeds our colors, and we're one of the few cities that I would have to really dig deep into this one, but that all of our teams have the same. I think we are.
I think that's safe to say. I'm pretty sure we are. Yeah.
And it's that thing that actually I'm surprised that more cities don't do that. Like that hasn't been a more common theme. But I like that. It's unique, and Pittsburghers love that we can be unique and that we have that pride. And I mean, there are people, it doesn't matter what class you are, what job you work, everybody can unite under Pittsburgh sports.
Yep. Like I said, it gives me goosebumps, the fact that we were able to rattle the ace for the Reds in a wild card game and make him drop the ball, and on the very next pitch he fucking tosses up oh my god,
cheddar right over the plate.
Oh my god,
Russell Martin slaughtered it. He slaughtered it.
Love Russell Martin too. Yeah, I was honestly I was happy about the game, but I was happier for my dad. Like that, it's a family thing, and I don't quite have the fandom that he does I'm a huge fan, but I don't quite have the fandom that he does as a Pirates fan. But that made me feel just so good watching him at least and for the few years after too. I mean, it sucks that we ran into the buzzsaws that we did. The Cardinals, the one year we ran into literally only Madison Bumgarner. He was the lone reason we lost to the Giants in the 2014 wild card. And then Jake Arrieta. Like, it just sucks that we weren't able to get over the hump in our window, and now that we're kind of tearing it all down, it's going to be years before we're even relevant again, which sucks. But like, dude, what a moment! Just for the city of Pittsburgh, what a moment. All right, we're gonna move on. I feel like that was a big stroking fest for the city of Pittsburgh right there, but I don't care. I'm here for it.
2-hand slammy jammy.
So this is a little bit of a different pick for me. 2015, Michigan State versus Michigan, a surprisingly very high-profile game. Michigan State I forget how many years they were good, but there was a stretch where they were really fucking good. And Michigan is up with 10 seconds left. They're up 2. All they have to do is just not fuck up the punt. The guy muffs the punt, gets tackled. Spartans fumble the ball, run it literally all the way back to win the fucking game with 0 seconds on the clock. And Jim Harbaugh is pissed. I think that's what probably makes it for me, because I'm a big Jim Harbaugh's a joke. I can't believe that they signed him again on an extension. I cannot believe that. Has not finished above 3rd place in the Big Ten East. That's why I love this more than anything, but it's just, it was a high-profile game that ended in one of the craziest ways possible. The 2013 Iron Bowl definitely rivals this, where Auburn took back the kick 6. But this, like, how do you screw this up? Like,
it was so improbable. Like, it was something that you think, like, logically, you're going through your head. Okay, they got the game in hand. All they got to do is fucking kick the ball away, and that's it. And I think what makes it even worse is not only did they fuck that up, it's not like this was to an out-of-conference team. This was to a bitter rival, other than Ohio State, who's a bigger rival with them than Michigan State. And it was kind of one of those things that one of my best friends, Pat Sidoris, sorry that you're a Michigan fan, buddy, but I'm a Pitt fan, so who the hell am I talking to? But I remember, like, anytime Michigan was up for bat and they let him down, it's tough being a Michigan fan. And I know that this is one that stings more than most, especially, A, because it should have been such a routine play, but B, because you gave it up to Sparty Nation.
Like, losing to Sparty is unforgivable. Like, I don't know where this sense of entitlement comes from with Michigan fans. And granted, I'm a Penn State fan. I get it. We haven't done shit in a while. I mean, I get it. I'm not pretending that we did. But there's something about Michigan losing to Ohio State, Michigan State, or Penn State that just gets Michigan fans it puts them on edge. And Jim Harbaugh is just so bad against all of those teams, and I love it because that guy bitches on the field, he wears khakis, he drinks too much milk, and he creeps out recruits by trying to sleep over on their fucking floor. I hate Michigan. Probably, like, I hate Ohio State because they're so good. But I respect, there's cheating going on, which I can acknowledge that probably Penn State's cheating with recruiting as well. So I'm not above reprieve there. I get it. If you're a Division I program, you're fucking cheating. And I'm not pretending that that's not happening. However, there's something about Michigan that, like, I hate Ohio State, but there's something about Michigan that just, my God, they bother me to my core. I think it's just the arrogance, and the fact that this is how they fucking lost is so funny to me. Like, especially in a big game against your in-state rival who's not really supposed to be your rival. That to me is just hilarious. And the fact that it ended, like, a muffed punt is probably the worst way to go out, and I think it's great. And it produced probably the best sports meme of all time with the Michigan guy just going like this. That to me is iconic.
Surrender Cobra. Yeah, man. I think, like, you're supposed to, you know, the idea, and not even just in football, you know, they've rivaled in basketball, which I think Michigan State has always kind of had the edge.
For the most part, yeah. Yep.
But in football, it was, you know, Michigan State is Michigan's little brother. and it was kind of one of those things that they should have him in a headlock, giving him a no-gi. It's, thanks for showing up. And Michigan State shocked the other half of the state. You know what I mean? And it was one of those things that I guarantee those people that got those fucking house divided stickers on the back of their cars, they did not talk.
Nope.
They didn't speak that night, because that was something that, the Michigan State fans were figuring, here comes another L. No matter how good our season is, we won't beat Michigan. And they ended up capitalizing on one of the biggest mistakes in college football in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and I really do. I mean, again, trying to steer it back to the jerseys just a little bit. I've always kind of liked Michigan State's uniforms. They're kind of clean. They're modern without really but they're kind of modern. Like, the numbers are kind of cool. The stripe on the helmet, they're the Spartans, so they make it look like the helmet kind of. It's kind of a cool look.
And I do dig that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think Sparty is one of my favorite mascots.
Yeah.
I actually really like. I mean, it's just a ripped dude with an angry face in Spartan gear.
Yeah.
But I think that they are clean, and I mean to me, I always said that Michigan State looks like the D1 Slippery Rock, just for their color scheme and the way that they match their uniforms. But Michigan State's always been clean, and I actually like some of their basketball jerseys too. So I always have dug Michigan State. I've never rooted for them. I've never had a reason to, but they've always come out looking pretty clean.
Yeah, I mean, they're in the same division as Penn State, so I can't root for them. I've never really had an issue with them, just because they've always just been, the thorn in the side of Jim Harbaugh, which I love. But yeah, there was also a weird thing where I think late 90s, early 2000s, the Big Ten was trying to make Penn State and Michigan State rivals, which doesn't make any sense. I think it's because Michigan was already taken by Ohio State, and Penn State obviously couldn't be rivals with Ohio State because they had Michigan. So it was a weird thing where they were trying to pair us up with Michigan State, and they had us play them the last game of the year every year. You couldn't hate them though, because most years we would win. I'm not saying we would beat them all the time, but there for a while it was a good streak going. That it was all right, cool, that's a win. Last game of the year, it's a good feeling to end the year with. But I've never disliked them. The rivalry never really worked. We also have one of the worst trophies in all the Big Ten, which is it's like the land grant trophy. It's so bad, but this moment, it's just crazy that Michigan lost on this, and Michigan State actually ended up going on to win the Big Ten. And I think they got smoked by Bama in the first game of the playoff that year, but it was a good stretch for Sparty up there. I mean, they had some good fucking teams up there.
Absolutely.
So let's go on to your third one. This one is a little out of my wheelhouse. I like watching this sport, but it's not my forte. But I feel like you can take this one on pretty well. So.
Absolutely. This is one here that for anybody who doesn't know, I know that I'm usually known as a basketball guy, but I am a huge UFC fan. And right around this time, 2007, I would have been 11 years old. I know I'm dating myself here, but when I was younger, my dad first got me into the sport, and my favorite fighter, even still to this day of all time, is George St. Pierre. And for any of you that know, I mean, the guy's an absolute legend. He's been a champion multiple times. He's only got 2 career losses in the UFC, and one of these for this time. The other one was in 2004 to Matt Hughes, who's also a legend in the sport. But there's a amazing backstory to this. So this fight was a UFC 69 between George St. Pierre and Matt Serra. A lot of you might not even know who that is, but Matt Serra was a champion for a short period of time because of the opportunity he was given here against George St. Pierre. George St. Pierre, especially in 2007, was kind of like tiptoeing on his prime. And for anybody that knows, I mean, he is just one of the most technically sound fighters that's ever stepped in the octagon, with striking, defense, ground game, and I mean, and he's just a likable guy. And so he was kind of on top of the mountain. He was a champion. Matt Serra won the Ultimate Fighter, which was a reality show where people would compete for a shot to get into the UFC. which it did for many years. And UFC fighters who had made it would be coaches of each team, and they would basically do a tournament style on this reality TV show. And Matt Serra had won, and so that gave him the opportunity to fight in the UFC. So he did. He gets a title shot at George St. Pierre, and I don't remember what the odds were back then, but I know it was like a mountain of difference between George St. Pierre and Matt Serra. Logically, just with a gut feeling, and then especially in the betting odds. And Matt Serra TKO's arguably one of the best fighters to ever do it in the first round. They go at it. Matt Serra comes at him hard, harder than George St. Pierre was expecting. He was expecting a more technical fight. He was expecting Matt Serra to kind of go to his level and try and compete with him in his own game. Matt Serra just went in and beat the shit out of him. And I love GSP. That's my favorite fighter of all time. And he beat the shit out of him. It was a Cinderella story of a guy who worked his way up from the bottom, gets a shot in the UFC, and takes down one of their elite fighters that was, the time, the out of current fighters on their Mount Rushmore. And even now, you look at the legacy that GSP has had, and I mean, he kicked Matt Serra's ass in their rematch, and he beat Matt Hughes another 3 times after he lost to Matt Hughes the first time. But GSP was an animal, and to see a guy who was looked at as like the Joe Schmo who just got an off chance to get this, people thought that Matt Serra, like it was a joke. People were laughing building up to this fight, and he ends up shocking the world and becoming champion of that division, and that is something that I'll never forget, because as a kid I grew my fanhood for GSP, and he was the first fighter that I kind of like latched on to, and I was like, that's my guy. I like that guy. And I remember watching him lose this when I was a little kid, and like I said, I was like 11 years old, and I'm sitting there chubby with a Jufro that I had at the time, lost, looking at the TV like, oh my God, the world's ending. Like World War III's about to happen because this schmuck shouldn't be doing what he's doing. And he kicked his ass, man. And I love GSP, but I got to give Matt Serra all the credit in the world for that night.
Yeah, I really like the UFC. I'm definitely, I wouldn't say that I'm an avid fan. I'm a casual fan. Like big fights, I will for sure, stream or pay the money to buy it on pay-per-view. It's a really cool sport, and I think what's really cool about the UFC is the underdogs. Like I feel like it happens more than you really think.
All the time.
Yeah,
all the time.
Especially, it's just such like it's a dangerous sport, but it's so weird to it's a weird sport to master too, because I feel like there are so many skills out there. You can be a grappler, you can be a striker. There are so many ways to go about it that there's no one perfect way.
Yeah, and they're all successful in their own right. There are guys who are known for one attribute, and they excel at it. GSP was such a technically sound fighter that he was good at everything. And for Matt Serra to come out guns blazing and kick his ass was just amazing. And I think, without getting lost at what the concept of the show is, he was sporting some black and gold trunks. So for those of you who are also homers like myself, I like the sleek style. Some guys have crazy designs, or they've got their nickname blasted on their boxers. Do that a lot too, and some of them they've got their sponsor on there, but this was a cold look. GSP was known for kind of wearing what looked like boxer briefs most of the time when entering the ring, and these were just classic fighter trunks that I liked. They brought a really good, that also I think added to his story that he was just this regular guy. Like he looked like just a typical fighter that they would throw in there, throw him to the wolves, and he kicked the wolf's ass. And I mean, this is one of the most jaw-dropping things that I ever got to see in sports. And even still, I've seen a lot of upsets in watching the UFC in my time. And I don't think that there still to date has been a fight that shocked me more than this. And this is something that will live rent-free in my head for the rest of my life.
I love it. I wish I could add more. I mean, these are really fucking cool shorts. I'm not making fun of the pick. I just like I love the UFC, and that's all I can really say. Yeah.
It was, because usually I'm picking uniforms or jerseys, and these just being trunks, because there is so much limited apparel when being worn in the ring that I get that it was unorthodox, but when we started going back to nostalgia, I figured I can talk about the shorts a little bit, but this was just a moment that, like I said, I remember where I was. I remember watching it with my dad, and I was like, dude, this is remarkable. So it was something that this one, when we were talking about Remember Where You Are, I feel like I'm watching it again in my head right now, and that's something that I'll never forget.
That's awesome. Like I said, there are no wrong answers, so the fact that you went with the UFC fight and the trunks that's awesome. So, not hating, I didn't have anything else to add, because
No.
all right.
Rolling in, small third and final pick.
Ooh, okay. So, right there. All right, so I'm going to play it again. So, this was in 2017. The Pens are coming off of winning a Stanley Cup, right? They go up against the Caps in the second round of the playoffs, like we have. I can't even count how many times we've met the Caps in the second round of the playoffs. It's a weird thing that always seems to happen, and for years we had their number, big time.
Mm-hmm.
You also got to remember, Marc-Andre Fleury was, I don't want to say dethroned, but he got hurt going into the 2016 playoffs. I think whoever the backup was also got hurt. So Matt Murray came in and performed unbelievably. Like, he was the young at the time. I can't remember if there was one that was younger in the most recent cups, but at the time he was the youngest goalie to ever win a Stanley Cup. And he came in, he stole the show. He was clutch. You just couldn't score on him. He was just so unbelievably in the moment. He was zoned in. And Fleury he got the shit out of the stick. It sucks. And he was a legend in Pittsburgh. Like he and everyone loves it. Everyone loves Fleury. Yeah, exactly.
Everyone can look back on him in fond memories because he was a great athlete. There were times that did he play a little inconsistently? Sure. But overall, he was a clutch guy, man. And he made the saves when we needed to. And people who keep good track of Fleury's career, if you remember back when we won the Cup in 2009 with that diving save, the guy has put us on his back when he's needed to. But even when Murray came up, he supported him. He didn't bitch out. He didn't get all upset about it. He decided to take the role as mentor and step in when we needed him. And I think that's something that all Pittsburgh fans can look back on Fleury and smile for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And like and like you said, he was a good teammate because all through the 2016-17 season, he was. I mean, there was kind of a battle going on for top dog in net, and like I feel goalies are such head cases too in hockey. I feel like that's hard to deal with. I'm not a goalie. Like I don't even play hockey, but I've always heard that's hard to deal with, and the fact that the Pens, they ended up going with Murray going into the playoffs. He was the guy. He got hurt. I forget which round it was, but Fleury came in and put on a fucking clinic. Stepped in seamlessly. Like it was crazy how fluid he was. It was like flour. It was the flour of old, right? And for years he'd been battered and battered. Like Fleury can't get it done in the playoffs. That was the story after they won that first cup. That was the story for years, and like I remember, I was pissed as a fan. I was like, "Hey, get rid of this fucking guy." I mean, that's how Yinzers are. We overreact a little bit, and that's just like I said, tear it all down after the Steelers lost a few nights ago. But yeah, I wanted Fleury to go on the chopping block multiple times. He stayed on. He was a good teammate, and he ended up getting the shot that he deserved, I think, and he came up huge. What was huge about this particular save was it was Game 7 against the Caps. Probably that's our rival. I would say the Pens Caps, that's one of the best rivalries in hockey. Like, you could say Flyers maybe, but as far as like skill on the ice and competitiveness, like I would say Pens Caps.
I'm kind of a classic Pens fan to where, if there was one group of people that I could eliminate from the earth, I'm not even saying to kill or to murder anything, but just kind of make them go away. And I mean, if it has to be by way of, Anyway, if I could get rid of one group of people, it would be the Flyers and their fans. I have never hated a sports franchise and the people that support it more in my life than the Flyers. And anyone who supports them, I think you're all scum. And I think that you need to rethink your lives. And I mean, Philly's a gross-ass city. You got a gross-ass team who can't accomplish shit. And sure, you may have gotten the best of us a couple times, but let's compare cups if you want to start getting chippy with me. I hate the Flyers. But you are absolutely right that the Caps are a bigger rival because they can actually compete with us. Most of the time, the Flyers are dog shit, and they can't compete with a friggin' peewee hockey team. I could skate better than them, and I don't even know how to skate backwards yet. So I'm just saying here, I think that the Caps have always kept it more competitive, especially, everybody looks at even past just the team rivalry. They look at Crosby and Ovechkin. Those are the two best players in the league. So they see those guys going head to head, and they've been competing even individually. And those matchups have always been great. And I think it's awesome that you're pinpointing a moment like this, because it was kind of a comeback moment for Fleury, and for it to happen against one of our biggest rivals and realistically our biggest competition in the Eastern Conference in the last 10 years. This is something that just shined and will live in our brains for as long as I can think. So
yeah, this was the Caps' year. Like, this was supposed to be the year. They traded for Kevin Shattenkirk. Braden Holtby was the fucking best goalie in the NHL. They had the most points in the regular season. The Pens were number 2, but this was supposed to be their year. And we had so much real estate in their fucking head for it. And granted, 2018 came around. We lost. That's fine. We had a good run, but we shut them out in the playoffs for years. And that real estate just came to fruition in this moment in Game 7 when Fleury, butt end of his stick, just stuck it up. It hit it, and it jumped over the net off of Ovi's stick. And, how... I remember where I was, too. I was, and he gives it a little tug right there. I remember where I was, too. I was in Permane Brothers, in-state college, because I went to Penn State. I was in P-Man, and I was with one of my best friends that also went to Penn State with me. Big Yinzer, we're all literally zoned in on this game, and I look up after taking a sip of beer. I look up and I see Fleury just fucking stick his goalie stick up, and what a poetic moment, because it was a comeback for Fleury, for Fleury. It was supposed to be the Caps' year. And it was also kind of funny because he looked like he was, tugging one on national television, which I think is hilarious.
And I think, too, Fleury, for people to know, isn't a very boastful guy, but I think it was in that moment, knowing he had so much doubt just being weighed on his shoulders, and he took that all off against the team that was our biggest threat. So I think being able to do that was an awesome moment for him, but an awesome moment for Pittsburgh, being able to stick it to Washington one more time.
Yep. So this whole category, I was in my feels a little bit preparing for it. Whenever I was looking up, jerseys to do, one of the things I came across my feed on YouTube was, of course, the tribute video that the Pens played whenever Fleury came back for the first time on Vegas. I was tearing up. There aren't many guys out there that were better. He was just such a good guy overall, and everyone loved him. He was a prankster. There was just you could not hate him, no matter how much he might frustrate you. Yeah, he was awesome. He was just an overall good dude, and there wasn't an ounce of hatred towards him whenever he came back to
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
well, because he was one of those guys that he embodied the city. There's a lot of guys that they go somewhere, whether they get drafted or traded or signed somewhere, and they're just kind of there. You know, it's they're a pro athlete performing and they're collecting a paycheck. Whereas like Fleury, he got involved in the community. He took on Pittsburgh. He made it who he was, and I mean I think of guys like Jerome Bettis and Andrew McCutcheon and guys like that who they did the same thing, and they're people who were always beloved by the city of Pittsburgh because not only were they good athletes, but they were just likable guys. And I throw Fleury in that category. And I remember that tribute video, man. It was one of those moments that you were like, man, like this guy, he felt like family. You know what I mean? Just because of what he was able to do and sacrifice for the city. And a lot of people got to remember, it's not like he signed with the Knights. He got drafted by them in the expansion draft so that they could have players. And it was something that he didn't want to do. He didn't want to go. He probably would have retired a Penguin if he could have. But, you know, it was so hard to see him go because he was such a lovable Pittsburgh character.
Yeah, whenever they pan to him on the ice during that tribute video, I would recommend anyone watching this, please go watch it. Like, head to YouTube, just Marc-Andre Fleury tribute. Like, whenever they pan to him on the ice, and but as much as you can ball on the ice as an NHL hockey player, that's what he was doing. Like, he was wrecked. And that, as soon as when I saw that for the first time, I'm like, oh, sweet Jesus. Like, I don't like getting in my feels, but like I was getting in my feels watching that over again today. So, yeah. I want to do some honorable mentions too. Ben, I didn't ask you for yours. I apologize. So these are going to be my honorable mentions. So, first one, it's a homer pick for sure. It's a homer pick. However, I was at this fucking game. This is the craziest shit I've ever been a part of. Penn State blocking the kick against the number 2 team in the country, Ohio State, to put us back pretty much into relevancy, and this is how we do it. I remember my jaw dropped whenever I saw it. I thought it was fake. I was like, there's a flag somewhere. Like, I didn't even celebrate because I was like, what the fuck is going on? It was the craziest, as a Penn State fan, that is the craziest moment I've ever been a part of. I don't care I know you're a Pitt fan, but at least you have to admit that that's a fucking cool thing to be a part of.
And anybody who follows college football and has ever tuned in and seen the crowd at Beaver Stadium, I mean, the play, it's not just a football stadium. That is like a coliseum. I mean, that place is massive. Yeah, I mean, Smalls, do you have like a relative number as to how many people fit in that stadium?
I think numbers usually hit 108,000. Yep.
So look up the average capacity of really any other sporting event. That is a massive amount. In that crowd, when you see that whiteout at Penn State, of course, like we just hinted to, I'm a Pitt guy. That crowd is intimidating. And you could do an entire montage of moments where Penn State crowds have rattled an opposing team. It's electric there. And I remember that moment and that's when like all of Happy Valley gave real relevance to the name Happy Valley, because that was a huge moment for you guys.
Yeah, and so I'm looking up the average. No, this is pro sports, but 28,000, 21,000, 17,000 for NBA, 17,000 NHL, 66,000 for the NFL. You can. I'm just gonna leave it at this. TV does not do it justice. You have to go to a whiteout to ever even feel what it's like. It's electric. Like, they're playing in the air tonight while Ohio State's running on the field. Like, it gives you goosebumps, and the fact that I got to see that was awesome. So that's my number one. Big homer pick. I'm not ashamed of it though. I gotta go with Big Papi, the 2013.
Oh my god.
Dude, Grand Slam.
This was one of the ones that I excluded. But because the Red Sox, when I was a kid, that was always like my second team. Like, it was like whenever the Pirates were completely ruled out of playoff contention, I'd root for them because I always liked Big Papi. Dude's a survivor, got shot and survived. He's an animal, and dude just his entire career raked,
Yep.
and that was dude, that was such a cool moment, and especially like showing that that they were going to be good again because people thought when they won in '04 and '07 like all those guys are getting older, Pedroia's getting older, Poppy's getting older, and they still won and they cranked the ball. That was such a good moment, man.
Yep. It was the 2004. Well, I guess that was the ALCS when they beat the Yankees. Great 30 for 30.
Yeah.
Great moment. I don't remember watching that. I do remember watching this though. This was crazy to see. And also, I've always liked the Red Sox uniforms. They're just easy. They're simple. There's something cool about it.
Classic.
And this one, I mean, as a college football fan, I was in my living room watching this, and I looked at my dad. It was almost the same thing as Penn State blocked field goal, but like this one, like this game was so big, 1 versus 4, and the Iron Bowl, probably the biggest rivalry in the country, and this is how it ends, a kick 6, like. That's insane. And to beat Saban like that, I mean, this will be probably the best moment outside of Cam Newton winning a national championship. This will be the best moment in Auburn football lore ever. Like I know people that went to Auburn and they're like, this is it. Like this is the thing.
This is a moment that is going to live in the heads of fans forever, just because it was such. I mean, that play alone, a missed field goal that gets fielded and then returned all the way back, and what like 110 yards for a touchdown against the best football team in the last 20 years in college football, and I mean going up against Nick Saban. And them being just the titan of college football that they were and still are, which congrats to them for winning another national championship. But at this time, it was like Auburn was a great football team. No one expected them to pull that off, and that play was so unpredictable and so out of nowhere that it was like everyone kind of had this holy shit, did that just happen reaction to it, and we're like, I can't believe what I just saw. So that's a really good pick, man.
Yeah, I remember looking at my dad, because whenever me and my dad watch football, we stand in front of the TV with our arms crossed, either screaming if it's one of our teams or just watching. We just go like this. I remember we both looked at each other and our jaw. I remember just going, are they fucking kicking it right now? Like, why are they kicking this? What the and then that happens. I just we both just stood there and we're like, what the fuck was that? One of the greatest plays in college football history ever, hands down. And then I already did one flower moment. This one is just, I mean, how much better does it get?
That I referenced earlier. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and to win against the Titans of the NHL, the Red Wings at the time, to win.
Who people forget we lost to the year before.
Yep.
We went back-to-back Cubs playing the Red Wings, and that was a big statement for us. People thought, oh, well, here go the Pens has a good run. They're going to lose back-to-back, and we end up winning thanks to Fleury on that save. And for people who really remember, well, Rob Scuderi with his shin pad blocking one when Fleury was on the opposite side of the goal too. That entire series, that's probably the most memorable series of hockey I've ever watched growing up. But that was such a cool moment, man, and another great tribute to Flower.
Yep. And that's why so many people have fond memories of him, because he literally won a cup. Like, he himself was the last reason that they won that cup. So you can't beat that. So I had to throw some. It was such a hard category to pick for. I had so many written down. I mean, it was impossible. Like I probably spent too much time on it.
We could do a series of episodes on these. I mean, it was very hard to boil down. And for those of you at home, please message us, send something in to Thoughts from the Bench. We'd love to hear what yours were, some of your memorable moments in sports and what uniform signify that for you. But man, this was a fun episode. I'm really happy we were able to look back on some of our favorite moments, and genuinely these were times where I think for both you and me, sitting there thinking like, dude, like I'm mentally reliving that moment. And and man, this is a great category. So, and for everybody who tuned in, thanks again. As always, we're going to be back more next week with some new picks, new categories, and we appreciate you all watching. So.
Yep, I appreciate everyone tuning in. Again, it was an awesome category. We left some stuff out for sure. So, I'm expecting a little bit of a pushback for the ones that we did pick. But again, there are no wrong answers for this one. This was purely what me and Ben. This is just what we remember watching. And I definitely encourage if anyone has their own takes on what, I would love to hear it, because I mean, we're Jersey heads. This is what we want to see. Like this was probably my favorite episode that we've done so far. A little different than what we've done. It wasn't geared as much towards like giving shit or like, this was definitely more of
or even praise. It was
yeah.
Oh, and I think that this is a great one, though, is because no matter whether we're giving praise or we're giving shit, our show is very nostalgia-based. And I think today, not only did we bring in nostalgia with the uniforms, but really focused on the memories those uniforms caused for us. So today was a great look back in sports history, man, for sure.
Yep. So I appreciate everyone tuning in. This has been The Vault, brought to you by Thoughts from the Bench. The weekly show that we take a look back at some of the best and worst sports jerseys of all time. We ran a little long today, so I apologize for that. But we have a lot more coming down the pipe for you guys. I think some pretty interesting shit. I think me and Ben are pretty flexible. We can go all over the board. As you do, the transition between last week and this week, I think, is remarkable. And we can revert into being idiots like that. Just because we looked like we were mature and nostalgic today does not mean that will be reflected. It'll always change. So,
all right, well, hey, cheers, buddy.
Yep.
Thank you for the episode, as always.
Absolutely.
And guys, we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for checking in.